Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's episode 3 of Base Game Reviews, the podcast. I'm here with my boys, Wara and Jimmy FornaTRON. How's it going, guys?
Doing all right. Brutal as always. How the hell are you guys?
I'm going good.
Yeah.
Can't wait to get into the topics.
Good.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the few people that beat the first big head boss in Wukong, so I'm just flexing all over the place because apparently that's gatekeeping a lot of people.
Yeah, can't wait to hear about that today. So maybe we'll just warm up a little bit, and I'm curious to hear like what the two of you have been playing this week.
Yeah, I can go first. Clearly I've been playing Wukong. So I have other stuff that need to get done, but I'm playing Wukong. I just got to chapter 4, I think it is, and yeah, it's exactly what I thought it was. I don't want to get too much into it because that'll go in my review, but it's definitely an action game. I know that it's not a Souls-like, and a lot of people keep calling it a Souls-like, but it's not. No, but it's a very surprisingly visually appealing game, and I'm happy to say I haven't run into any game-breaking bugs yet, and I'm past chapter 2, and that's supposedly when they were supposed to be, and I haven't really seen anything, so I'm really happy about that.
That's good. Yeah, so I've been I finished off Path of Exile, and the review's now up on Base Game Reviews. Go check it out. Getting a good amount of feedback from people about that. So yeah, and then now I'm playing. Now, don't kick me off. I've been playing Concord. Yeah, just quietly. Yeah. I'm not meant to. I'm told I'm not allowed to play it, but the internet's told me I have to not like it. But I'm enjoying it, and obviously I'm not denying the other issues. But we'll get into that later with some of the topics. But yeah, I'm at the moment enjoying my playtime on Concord. Yeah.
Did you end up finding a copy of that ninja game?
Yes, Kung Fu. So I found a copy, but I didn't. I didn't want to get it from interstate, and then the copy that was available in my state doesn't have the sliding case or the manual. But there's someone on Marketplace who has it, so it's turned into a bit of a drama. I can understand, but I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna get it. But yeah.
I literally have just downloaded the ROM.
yeah. I could just do that. But
emulation.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that once I get this. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully it works. Yeah, I am depressed right now. Like I am on a bad streak with games. I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
I keep I want nothing more than to just get invested in a good game and just, lose myself in, because I need something to write my next review about. I was hoping it was gonna be Fire Emblem, and oh my god, that was a train wreck. I'm sorry for all the Fire Emblem fans out there and anyone who enjoyed that game, but yeah, I gave it like a solid 10 hours, and there were just too many game-breaking red flags for me. I wasn't able to get immersed in it. There was some voice acting that was just so awful that just took me out of the game, like just broke the immersion, and I'm just like some really weird like UI things where like a menu would normally be like flat on the screen, but they had them like at an angle, so it was like stylized to be like why? Like I don't know why. The text is minuscule. I'm playing it on my handheld Switch, which is right here, but I have pretty good eyesight. Some of the text is just like some really bad like design choices that ultimately I was just like, there's no way I'm putting 60 hours into this, so I had to put it down. It was wasted 80 whatever bucks on that because it's a new title. So yeah, I'm kind of in a rut, but I might go and play Final Fantasy VI next. And I know, Jimmy, you put out a review of A Link to the Past with the retro template recently. Yeah. I might use that template and just review Final Fantasy VI with that same kind of system. Never played it before. It's on my gotta play before I die list. So
yeah,
hopefully
bucket list.
Bucket list for sure.
Yeah,
hopefully that's gonna be the one. Yeah,
that's all. That always sucks when you drop top dollar for a brand new game and you're pumped for it, and then you just play it and it's fucking dog shit, and you're just like, it doesn't even have to be dog shit, but it's just like it's like a letdown, and you're like, man, I'm not even like enthusiastic about playing this.
That's what it is. Yeah.
It kind of like the points that you brought up reminded me of what we were talking about last week, and you can just tell that a lot of these games, the way that they're developed, each section is like compartmentalized so much that they didn't think about how they would all work together. And it's like with the menu systems being like at a weird angle or like a weird style, and like versus the gameplay, and then the text, like how do we think the text is going to look on a device that a lot of people are probably going to be playing it on, the Switch Lite? And it's just like, oh, we didn't think of any of that. And it's like all of that shit together just kind of shows in a lot of these games.
Yeah.
Oh, this is frustrating to play, but that is one of the good things about gaming, is that there's always something to play, and sometimes you just gotta dive in the treasure chest of just like tried and true classics that are just there. And I'm with you. Before Wukong came out, I was kind of like in a lull moment, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll play season 5 of Diablo because I have Diablo 4. And I just like grinded through that. But if I didn't have that, then I would just like be like, okay, what am I gonna play? I'd probably pick up another classic retro game.
Yeah, well, there's a never-ending supply of them out there, like games that are tried and true classics, and
that's it.
There's no way we could play them all in a lifetime. It's just a matter of like, I don't know. It's you have I know for me personally, I feel like I have what do they call it in retail, where you have like too many options and you get anxiety from that. Buyers, not something. There's something fatigue they call it. Decision fatigue, is that what it is? And just like where do I even start? But
you just get numb. Like it just, what's funny? You're talking about Mario 64. You're like, oh, that game's like 20 years old. The game's fucking 30 years old. Like it's getting close to 30 years old. It's just like, oh, like it's just like, I remember when that came out, and like I remember being a kid and just being like, wow, like that game just looked like a Pixar movie to me. That's how good the graphics were. Now, like there's just, as we get older, like the trove of games that are just like gems that we probably haven't played just gets longer and longer.
That's it. Like, have you played Forspoken, Max?
No.
Oh, it's worth a try.
No, don't make him spend money on Forspoken. Like, oh god, I would I don't even want to get into it. Game sucks.
No. Anyway, Sorry, move on.
Okay. Well, that was fun. So let's get into today's show. For reals here. So we have is this a suggestion from Steve? Is that what this is? Steve suggested a board game. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Steve, for that suggestion. I don't know. Maybe one of you can elaborate on that. Okay. First one. Do you have anything to say about that, or?
Oh yeah, Steve. I'm not reviewing Ottawa. We'll play it again. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Hot take. Soundtrack is more crucial than a good story. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I'll go first. Sorry if you were about this. Yeah. So like I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm just like, while a story, it can be appreciated, like for example, Bioshock 1, if you guys have played it, or even Bioshock 3, Bioshock 2, not so much, but the story arc in those is really good with a bit of with a good twist, and that's great. But generally, that only hits once. Whereas music can be a good soundtrack can be appreciated, at the start of a YouTube video when someone's going live, Jimmy, and like the Elden Ring soundtrack. It's sort of like, it's more of a question of like replayability, whether it matters. We're just talking before about replaying games. Stories will, the story's not bad just because you've seen it before, and like I've seen Liar Liar like 40 times. Like it's a good movie. Terrible story, but come on. Anyway, sorry. But my question to you guys was, for me, soundtracks like pretty important compared to a story, because most of the games I play are more like I guess the word's live service now. I like games with they keep adding extra things, you can replay them and stuff like that, and like even games like Elden Ring, as I just mentioned before, how the soundtrack's so good, is the story. People say there's not much story, and it's like it doesn't really matter as much because the gameplay is so good. And yeah, it's just sort of like where where the soundtrack and audio basically sits for you guys, I wondered, compared to story. For me, it sits higher because it's like you can enjoy it for longer and stuff like that, and it's just more additive to the moment-to-moment gameplay versus the story, which is sometimes just like pick the popcorn up, put the controller down for 5 minutes for a cutscene.
Yeah.
Which you enjoy once and it's great once, but yeah. I just thought I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts.
I like that question a lot, and when I read it, when Jimmy had sent us our script for today, it really got me thinking. I don't know, for me, you brought up Elden Ring a moment ago, and I'm probably in the camp of people that does think it has no story or that didn't connect with the story, but I still enjoyed that game immensely, and anyone who's interested can read my full review on it. There's my thoughts and my very mixed feelings about it, but regardless, I did enjoy that game immensely. And there's a lot of other games too where like I just want to lose myself in it, and I can kind of create my own narrative. I can create my own experience. I can it does, I get lost in the side quests and just kind of do my own thing, right? And if the music and the atmosphere are adding to that and are building that experience, then for me they are more important. I don't know what you think about. I know. We both share a love for Final Fantasy 12, Wara, and it's for me. It's my personal, not only my favorite Final Fantasy game, but my favorite video game of all time. And I will be honest that it does have a bit of a convoluted story. Like people know that that game went through like developmental hell, and they changed the directors like way into development, and the end starts to fall apart a little bit, but like, oh my God, the Hitoshi Sakimoto soundtrack on that is like the soundtrack to my life. Like I listen to that shit on my headphones like every day on the way to work, and it's like I play that when I play that shit when I fold my laundry. You know what I mean? Like And when I'm in the game and I'm running around Rabanaster, I'm like, okay, I'm in this world. Like I don't really care what's happening next or where I'm supposed to go. Like I am in this game. I am immersed. And it's because of the music. So that would be my answer to that question.
No, nice.
I love those two perspectives. And like at first I was like, this is a fucking dumb question, because like I'm gonna pick story, but then I heard Wara talk, and then I was just like, you know what, you're right. Like there's so many games where they're a one-time play. Like they're a once over, and like I couldn't tell you half of their stories, but like an example is like Final Fantasy 16. Like I can barely remember the story, but god damn does that music just like hit so hard. And like that's with like a lot of the Final Fantasy games, like their OSTs are just like so incredible and so over the top. And I was just like so spoiled with FromSoftware games because they just have insane composers that are just like nuts. Like just the way that the combat fits with the OST for the Ludwig the Accursed fight, and you're just like, holy shit, this is just so good. Games that are considered to have like insane stories, like God of War. I hate to like rag on this game because this is what I'm known for, but like I couldn't tell you a single track off of that entire game. All I can tell you is like the or like that shitty Nordic, I don't know what the hell you call it, but like that one, that's it. They don't have like any like really big hype tracks, and I love that. Like I love those over the top compositions that are just like that just take you to an 11 no matter what you're doing. And like you said, Max, like with like FF12, like you could just be like a basic bitch area, but the soundtrack just like gets you pumped, and you're just I'm not doing anything like memorable right now, but I'm like engaged. I'm immersed in the world. And after just hearing that perspective, like, yeah, definitely, like having a hype soundtrack can definitely take a game that doesn't have like very much of a story, like, and like completely immerse you. And then it can also enhance a game that has an incredible story and then just make it even more impactful.
That's it.
Like when I played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like I was just like, it really like got me emotional in a lot of parts, because like I just remembered the first time I played the original game, and then it just like really made me focus on those emotions. And the power of music, man.
Yeah, like do you guys remember the FF10 like intro when Sin comes to attack. Do you remember the opening like soundtrack song there? The song
I've
there?
never played through Final Fantasy.
I just played it. Yeah, so I remember the one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I'm not good with music genres, but it's like a metal song, and I used to have the FMV for that because you're talking about FMVs last week at school. It was so good.
It's the cinematic where Titus is there in the Blitzball arena and he's like about to go in, and there's the heavy metal, and then simultaneously Sin's like coming into the city, and yeah. It gets you like fired up though for sure.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, thank you for not cutting that question, Jimmy. I thought you might have seen it as a shit question, but I feel like it was a good question.
Oh, it was a good one.
I was like, no, that's shit. Don't even talk about that. Like I'm really surprised that a lot of games they'll just put like generic music that just like fits the moment, but like it's not impactful. It's almost like they get AI to just program some music, and then you're just like, okay, this upbeat rock track or like high tempo electronic music to help me with this combat moment. But games need like you need those impactful tracks. Like I don't know. Like just before we started rolling, I was listening to the Elden Ring DLC OST, and like there's tracks on there that I'm like, oh my god, these are so good. And like to this day, and then I know it's not a video game, but the OST for Interstellar like still brings a tear to my eye. Like some of those tracks are just so good.
Yeah, the dude, music and sound can really nothing moves us that way. I remember a friend of mine who went to film school, who was a fellow music producer and somebody who I've talked a lot about, deep philosophical things of, related to music and how it makes us feel. But he shared something really potent with me. He told me at film school that they taught the students that film is 51% sound. How about just consider that for a minute? You know what I mean? Like, and how many of our favorite movies are just not the same when you turn off, you mute it, and that Hans Zimmer soundtrack is gone. Like, you know what I mean? It's not the same. It's just Gladiator without Hans Zimmer it's just a dude in a skirt, It's just
like the fact that he goes on tour and just rocks the shit out of those tracks live, like tells you how much they rule.
That tells you something. Yeah. So very valuable.
Elden Ring's doing like a tour with the live orchestra, and then they have the game playing in the background and they play all the tracks. And we talked about this, I think, on the first episode, but like they're doing it in the UK, and I wish they would do it in North America or somewhere close to where I could go see it, but or at least they would sell it on something so I could watch it. But no, music's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, it is time for our weekly speedrun segment.
Max's Time to Beat.
What do you got for us today, Max?
Max's Time to Beat.
We're calling this segment Time to Beat.
Yeah.
And I have some notes today, so forgive me everyone if I'm looking down a little bit, but I wanted to make sure I got all my
I love that he's got facts, a fucking actual facts. Binder.
I have actual notes.
Jesus.
I spent all week studying this speedrun and looking into GoldenEye, the history of GoldenEye speedruns, because that's what we're talking about today.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
And we have a very special run today. So anyone who knows Carl Jobst, he's got a really good YouTube channel where he covers speedruns. He's also a prominent GoldenEye speedrunner himself. He said this was the most impressive GoldenEye speedrun he'd ever seen, and he's been running this game for over a decade. There are 20 levels in GoldenEye, as you all know, and we all remember that iconic level select screen, right, where we can choose the level you want to go into. So each one of those levels are categorized into their own speedruns under 3 different difficulty levels: Agent, Secret Agent, and 00 Agent. The run we're talking about today is Bunker 1, Secret Agent. It was accomplished by a runner named Rayon Isran in May of 2022. The time was 19 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot. Like it's last week's run was over a half an hour, but don't let that short time to see view, there is literally like 10 years worth of muscle memory that went into this run. It is basically flawless. It's a masterpiece to behold. I recommend everyone go check it out. I've watched it probably 20 times and I still shake my head every time I see it. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes breaking it down. We're going to go over like a little bit of the history of the run, some of the mechanics, and some of the other people that contributed to getting this run to where it's at. Because as we know, like the speed running is all about people, standing on each other's shoulders and everyone constantly learning from each other and then upgrading and shaving off time. But it's just a gigantic group effort, so basically this runs 19 seconds. Okay, so there's 3 main objectives in this run. 2 of them are so easy you can basically it's just opening a menu and selecting Bond's watch. The main objective of this run is to disrupt 3 surveillance cameras. Okay, so to give you guys an idea, we all remember those like moving cameras, right? In Bond that are up in the corners of the rooms and everything. So these cameras take regularly 4 shots to destroy if you hit them from the side. In this run, not only are they destroyed in 1 shot each, which happens when you get it directly onto the lens from a perfect, like frame perfect angle, they're also destroyed while he was in full motion coming around certain corners in this hallway where there's literally like a frame shot that he has to come around a corner and hit a lens. It's unbelievable. When you watch the run, you'll see it. You won't believe this. So that's really where 99% of the skill is, destroying these cameras. In 2018, the record was 20 seconds. And Rayon actually set this himself. At the time, the community, the GoldenEye community gave this run a tier 1 title, which is basically like the highest honors that a GoldenEye run can receive. It's just like they put these shits on a pedestal and everybody just sort of bows to these tier 1 records. Everybody thought that the run was done then. It was 20 seconds. This was perfect. There was no room for improvement.
Wasn't that because like the in-game time, the way that it rounds up, like it doesn't do like decimals to that point? So like, yeah. Even if like it always rounds up, so like if it was 20 seconds and you were 19 point whatever seconds, it would just round you up to 20 seconds. So like you had to be at 19 seconds or below to get the 19-second mark. Is that right?
Yeah, it uses in-game time. So if you go to the leaderboards, there's like his record at 19 seconds and then a 21 second and then like 50 people with 22, and they're all. It's a big tie, right? Because like you said, there's no decimals. It uses the in-game time. So yeah, just a couple of like really cool points I wanted to make about this game, or about this run. It took 21 years from the game's release before someone had a run that only used 3 bullets for the first 3 cameras. So that gives you an idea of how precise and how difficult this is to achieve.
Are they shooting from the hip too, or are they using the sights?
Shooting from the hip. Yeah,
that's
like there's no in full motion with the PP7. It when you watch it, you think the run is in fast forward. Like it's hard to wrap your head around. So in 2018, a runner named Yoris created a new strategy. So this was on the agent difficulty, which is let me see, that's like the easiest difficulty. And this was to pause at the last door, which is right before the end of the run, and switch to a 2.4 control style. So what this 2.4 control style lets you do is it lets you take action during the opening and ending cutscenes, which is really peculiar. So literally, like where the camera pans out and you watch Bond coming in and coming out, the player is actually able to control movement and the game during those sequences. So Rayon already had the world record, but when this new strategy came out, he you got to understand, he's been running this game for 10 years. He's got the world record. No one's ever touched it. But this new strat comes out, and he's like, okay, give me one more crack at it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he busts out the console again, gives it one more run with all of his skill, everything that he's learned from this run, plus this new strategy of pausing and switching to, and when you watch it, you these pauses look quite long, but the timer isn't actually running when the game is when it's paused like that. It's so they'll pause, switch to the 2.4 control style, and finish the run. He also sat on this record for a whole year. Which is a common thing in the GoldenEye community. For some reason, a lot of people will set world records and then hoard them and then release them. I don't know, anyone in the comments, maybe you can, if you're privy to that, you can chime in on that. But I guess it's, I can't actually speculate. But see, this motherfucker had this record just like on ice for a whole year.
Yeah.
And then finally
weird,
he was
yeah.
like, okay.
Look at these
He's
dumb
like, okay.
bitches try.
Like,
He's like, they don't
they're
even
not,
know.
No, they're not ready.
Yeah.
They're not ready. They weren't ready. And
Yeah.
so he dropped it on the world in 2023. Anyhow, yeah. Rayon is around 19 seconds, bunker 1. Anyone who's a fan of GoldenEye, all of us that grew up playing that in the 90s, please watch this run. Or if you're just into speed runs in general, it's only 19 seconds. You can watch it 5 times in a minute. It's really a thing of beauty. Just, it's hard to believe. Just the skill level, someone who's literally played like a game for 10 years to hone it down to just perfection. Like, you watch this thing and there's just no hesitation. It's just unbelievable. And then Carl Jobs does a really good job of highlighting like runs that up to that point, and all the other people who had set records, and then when you watch Rayon's run, it's like an AI is playing.
Yeah.
He's just on another level. So please go check that run out. I had a lot of fun looking into it and learning about the history of GoldenEye and the speed runs, and looks like a really, really passionate community. People still play this game to this day in all the different categories. There's even runs for completing the entire game in one sitting. That's its own category. So it's worth checking out. And this one has its own leaderboards. I just wanted to mention, because last week we talked about speedrun.com, which was for kind of the global speedrunning sort of database, but Perfect Dark and GoldenEye have their own dedicated website, which is called the Elite Rankings. So you can check out other awesome GoldenEye speedruns there.
That's awesome. I thought you were going to talk about, because I remember watching a documentary. I think it was a documentary about, it's the level after faculty where you're heading to the plane, and it was that speed run, and like how they got that down, and like like they're
There's
doing
so
these levels
many
in
of
like
them that
19 seconds, and yeah, when you watch them play, they're shooting from the hip, frame perfect, hitting cameras, and you're just like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't even think I should play video games anymore.
So the final camera in this level is also behind a pane of glass.
Yeah.
And normally people had like the can't remember. It's the AK-47 essentially, and they're just like blasting the glass and trying to break it and then hitting the camera. Somehow he gets it in one shot. He breaks the glass while the camera's turning, hits the lens, gets through the final door. I mean, oh my God.
Imagine how many resets though.
Well, that's yeah. Well, the attempts on a 19-second run, like I'd love to ask, like how many actual attempts has it taken to get to that point?
You don't even want to.
Yeah, you probably don't want to know. Moving on, mechanical appreciation nemesis system.
Wara's mechanical talk.
Yeah. So this week for mechanical appreciation, I sort of wanted to run through the basics of what the Nemesis system is. The Nemesis system is sort of basically an AI system that was in Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, and Shadow of War games made by Warner Brothers. And so the Nemesis system is, so all enemies are unique. Each region has a maximum amount of captains within the army, the enemy army, and your own army. So captains can be created 3 different ways. One, if you kill an orc, they become a captain. Sorry, if an orc kills you, they become a captain. Each time you die or fast travel, 1 extra captain will join the army if it's not at maximum already in that region. And if it is full, then the one that comes in is going to fight in the background, is going to fight a current captain. So it's just, they're constantly like improving themselves. And then there's also a rarer, like, invasions. A new group of captains will enter a region to battle the current hierarchy. So there's a lot going on with this system. It's very, very good and in depth. So then there's also, some enemies can cheat death and ambush you at a later time if they die or you kill them. You can also recruit to your own army. So you can recruit an orc if they meet certain requirements. So they're lower level than you, and they don't have this certain ability. So I don't want to go too deep into it, but it's a like I said, the videos for explaining the system are like 20 minutes long, and obviously I don't want to babble on for 20 minutes about it. It's really just getting a base understanding of it. Then there's also a scarring system for him as well. You can shame the orc. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Am I dumb? I thought the Nemesis system was like, or am I thinking about something else? Like, I thought it was like you kill an orc general, and then the guy below him wants revenge on you. So like he's constantly after you now, and that was part of the Nemesis. I thought was cool.
Yeah, that's a part of it as well. But a part of the whole system is that you also, you can shame the orc, which can cause the enemy to become an immortal, which means it keeps that enemy, even though you kill it, it'll come back more mutilated and keep reviving up to 6 times. And at the 6th time, it can have like a bag on its head effectively. I thought that part was a bit of a joke, but anyway. So shaming, you can shame the orcs, and they can become also deranged or possibly maniacs. So you can turn them into maniacs, and then you can also turn them into necromancers and recruit them to your team, and so your army. So you're intentionally doing this with your abilities, so that when they're on your team, they can revive as a necromancer. They can revive the other ones around them. So then there's sieging of fortresses when the generals that you just spoke about. So you siege with your own. So yeah, exactly what you said is the crux of it. Is they remember, they know everything, they're all unique. They get mad. They become your nemesis if you do something and you kill their general. So it's very in depth in that regard. But the reason I wanted to bring this up this week out of the blue is that such an in-depth system is great, and a lot of systems in games like this over the years, like we were just talking about GoldenEye, while I can't really think of anything that GoldenEye sort of did, everything takes inspiration from other games, right? That and Perfect Dark were like the gold standard of like great shooters, obviously, back then, and everyone loved them. So when a game developer sees a really cool system like that, they want to take inspiration from that. And so over time, we get different iterations. Everyone's always like looking to get better, sort of like how artists look at other art and go, oh yeah, well, I'm going to take inspiration from that and create my own thing. They're not copying, they're taking inspiration. But the reason I wanted to bring this system up was because Warner Brothers in 2015 tried to patent this idea and this whole system, and it took them until 2021 to actually get it through court, and they have a patent until, if they want to, 2035. Yeah, and so this is the downside to it. So I want this segment to be mechanical appreciation, but also I want it to be about, bad things as well within mechanics. But like the system itself is amazing, but what's turned it into a negative is people are begging for it to be put into more systems and more games and be implemented. And what's the word? I can't. Make different iterations. Like other people go, we should add this and make your own version of that. Sort of like let's go back,
enhance.
Let's go back. Look, imagine if Souls games they patented the idea of the bonfire regenerating every time you rest, all the enemies. Imagine if they patented that idea and no one could make a Souls-like. You wouldn't have the industry moving forward.
No.
So I don't like. I'm not mad at Warner Brothers. I'm more mad at the government for allowing it to be patented because it's obviously they were against it, and that's why it took so long to get it through. And sort of
when was the last Shadow of Mordor game? I think wasn't it 2015?
Shadow of War, I think, was 2015. Yeah, I think it was 2015. I'm pretty certain it's around then. Yeah, and then they're like, this system's really good. It's getting a lot of steam. Let's lock it down. And so there's a lot of conversations about from developers. Oh, okay.
But still, they haven't made a game since, and
that's the issue. Yeah,
and that's the problem. You patent technology that you likely don't have any kind of want to use ever again.
Yeah.
And you just want to patent it. That, I think that sucks. That sucks ass. I don't know,
it seems
I feel like when you do things like that, we're doomed to have games where all of the enemies have stupid enemy AI. And there's still current games where the enemy AI is just so terrible and they're just so dumb.
Yeah, that's it. And so a lot of developers I've tried to read into Reddit developer subreddits and stuff. And the issue is just fear of a lawsuit. A small indie development team isn't going to risk any sort of lawsuit, so they're just going to steer way clear of it and not do anything that can even be, thought of as trying to copy it. So it's just stunting. What's the word? I can't think of the word again.
Growth and progress and innovation.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So I actually really like that you brought this up, and maybe it brings a question to mind. Can we point to any examples in the past where this has ever been a problem? Why protect it? Why keep it to yourself? Think of all the great games that have taken things from Dark Souls and or mechanics. The Jedi Survivor games are garbage, but they used the bonfire mechanic and the enemy resetting and that's cool. And we know that's Miyazaki, and we can look at that and respect that, and it's still Jedi's. It's still its own game, but it's a nod. It's paying homage to a master or something, and so what other games in the past have borrowed from something and it's been a failure and everyone was outraged? I just don't see why why stop this,
Yeah, if we look at Dota 2, while it's not a perfect example, it's originally a mode from Warcraft 3. And they went to court with Blizzard. So Valve went to court with Blizzard over all the rights, and it ended up that Blizzard would own the rights to the physical products, I believe. I don't know exactly. And then Valve regained all the rights to in-game revenue. So at the time, Blizzard thought it was a win, but in the end, Valve obviously came out heavily on top because everyone plays that. But that's a little different because it was a subset. It was actually the game, basically. It was Dota 2 was apparently. Yeah, I think it was a little different.
I feel that's more than just a mechanic, right? That's a whole...
Yeah, whole game, yeah. So that is a bad example. But I see it more as corporate greed. And not just that, it's... if you're someone who... obviously it's a corporation, so it's not a human. But if a human is insecure, has a bit of an ego, they might be intimidated by someone else coming in and possibly doing better than them, right? This seems like a corporate version of, I don't want you to practice because I don't want you to be better. And so they're just trying to cut them off at the knees and release a better product than them. Or the other thought is corporate greed still, but different angle. They want to be able to, what's the word? Rent out the ability to use their Nemesis system, and just everyone's just gone, well, I'm not paying to have that. That's how I feel their goal was. They're everyone's going to want to buy this off us, to use it in their games. I feel how Sony does Spider-Man and we're getting a Blade game and stuff like that, but you got to pay for the IP. it's sort of like Warner Brothers saw that as a potential that everyone's going to want to buy this and use this, and in reality, people like developers may be like, don't really want to do that. We want to do our own thing.
Yeah, they're probably like our margins are like razor thin already. Like especially when you're not becoming indie dev, like they're like we're not gonna have the money to pay for a licensing fee for some mechanic, and then they're just like, okay, well, I guess we'd just rather have it be shitty enemy AI. That's what we'll do. But
Sad.
yeah, that's a bummer. Like that's a huge loss to the gaming industry. Like, and that sets an awful precedent.
That's it. That as well. Yeah.
That we talked about last week as well. But like, yeah, like imagine if like people couldn't like pick up great ideas at other games. Like it was Alien Resurrection on PS1 that was like the first game to have left joystick movement, right joystick camera. And like, look where we'd be if they'd patent that. Like, where would Halo be if they patent that? Like,
look at all the games that have used the Z targeting system from Ocarina of Time. Like, literally every third-person action game since 1998.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, and the word I was thinking of before was iterations of. I just couldn't think of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Rip Nemesis system. Sorry that you had to live in two games that not like I'm sure they were popular, but I don't know.
Well, these things are, you know, they're good to bring up, you know, like fuck, people need to know about.
Yeah, why we don't see it. A lot of people are like, oh, why don't they do it again? And I was like, not everyone keeps obviously up to date on patenting of fucking systems in games, and I see a lot of people saying, oh, I want that to be put into this game and that game, and it just won't happen. It's just dead. It's basically dead.
What happens when these gaming companies become huge corporations? You don't have gamers in charge. You have like VPs of like IP protection and all this shit, and like all this stuff, and all the sales and marketing people and legal that think like, no, we got to protect your IP. We should not like let that get out. And it's just like. Yeah, like I'm not for like a company completely aping your product and then just like making like I don't know, like darker souls and then like like having the like just like completely ripping off all your assets and stuff. And then there's this like it's an ongoing joke that like Wara and I keep screwing up Wukong with Wo Long, but there's a third game and I still forget it, but it's this other game. It starts with a W, and it's like a complete Sekiro ripoff. And like they even like some of the sounds even sound like they're just completely ripped from Sekiro, and it just looks like not as good. It's like we have Sekiro at home, and it also reminds me of what was that other game? It was like Bleak Faith something. It's a Steam game, and they were caught totally ripping. The animations from Elden Ring, they just took the animations from NPCs and bosses and then put their own bosses over them, and then they just called it a game, and it's just like a bunch of Unreal Engine assets and stuff. Like, I'm not for that either, but like if someone makes a cool advancement in like enemy AI tech or like a cool combat system or like a cool feature that you could put in your game, I think like do it, but like put your own spin on it, and I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
it's a difference.
The industry should work. Sorry, the industry should be working together to make better products to make people happier, so we spend more money. Like they want to whinge that there's not enough money going around. It's like we'll make a good product. Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it just makes me think of it's the difference between like artists stealing lyrics versus like being inspired by a new style of music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we don't want like rappers don't want biters, but like if somebody's got like a new style like that inspires a whole bunch of new music, then great, like let's ride that wave. Nothing wrong with that. We all want to be inspired.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, let's move on to the next segment. Gamers vote with their wallets. They missed the point of what gaming is about fun. Firm message to Western devs. Who wants to start this one?
I'll go.
Okay, yeah.
I'll go because I want to rip into this too. Like,
All right,
it's
get
funny
in there.
having Max read that out because he's
Yeah,
I'm reading like verbatim from the email right now. So.
yeah, like
Read the script once.
Okay, you want me to read the script?
Yes.
All right.
And action.
I'll read the words you wrote. Hello, fellow American. This you should vote. Me. I leave power.
yeah, I because Jimmy says, what are some topics you want to talk about? And I'll just like write in things that I've like scribbled down basically throughout the week, and I'll make sure to structure like an actual question next time.
I could have made that a little bit neater before.
Yeah.
Okay, but basically, like, I feel like, and this is a huge inspiration for why we made our website and why we made this podcast and stuff, was there's too many politics in gaming. There's too many politics in game reviews. There's too many politics like within games itself. And we need to get that shit out of here. And I think like everyone's just tired of it. Everyone's tired of having some like unauthentic message rammed down our throats, or like some like fucking speech that's supposed to guilt trip us into like whatever way. And I think the core audience is clearly sick of it. And Concord is a good example because like Wara said, he's playing it right now and he's actually enjoying it. Like, it's actually a good functioning game. But because I feel the devs with their image, they just went out of their way to be like, let's be different and let's not have like traditionally expected character types. Let's go off the norm, off the beaten path, and have like these kind of like different, let's call it different choices for character types. And then let's just do that. Like, let's go against the grain. And it's like, yeah, if you want to do that, prepare to lose a lot of fucking money, because apparently this game was in development for 8 years, and right now it's sitting at a high of 697 concurrent players on Steam. And I know the game's also available on PlayStation. We don't have those numbers, but I can't imagine with any sort of speculation or guessing that the number is drastically higher on the PlayStation console. Like, sure, I imagine it's more than what's on Steam, but I can't imagine it being like a 50 times kind of like number. But even if it was 50 times 697 players, that's still an abysmal amount of players. And it's like, this is the first game released by Firewalk Studios, and I hate to tell you guys, this is probably going to be your last game. And I feel like if they just had a different approach to this, and then they just released their game and they just went with what sells, like, this would be a very successful game. But because like you try to make it this like fringe, out of the box, like we want to do something different, and then we're picking very I don't know, precise character types, it's just like, yeah, people are gonna like adamantly be against that. And you see that with a lot of these modern games and you think like people don't notice. It's like, do you think the game, like the audience doesn't notice that you're actively making characters look a certain way? And it's like, you think that we're just gonna be like, oh, that's a coincidence. It's like, no, it's not. And this is kind of like what we're gonna go into a little bit later, but like, you see the complete opposite coming from non-Western studios, and these games are just fucking crushing, like, continuously. And it's just like, yeah, who would have thought sex sells? And it's just like, yeah, you put a hot chick in your game that has amazing physics in very precise areas, yeah, your game is probably going to do well. And it's just like, yeah, that's unfortunate. And it doesn't also, like, I know I'm going on a huge tangent here, but a lot of people turn this argument into like, oh, so gamers need to be sexually attracted to their character to be able to enjoy the game. It's like, no, that's not it. But there's a reason why the rom-com Anything But You has Sydney Sweeney and that other dude in it, and they're very good looking. And it's just like, there's a reason why like me and like another person aren't the main characters of that movie. It's like, who we kidding here? Who we trying to kid? And then I think there's so many more politics in these games that people are just sick of it. People want to escape the real world. They don't want to be constantly reminded of like how we can be doing better as a society. People just want to get away, make the thing go boom, make the explosions happen, and just have a good time. And I think like a lot of the Western studios have gotten away from that.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, it sort of gaslighting when someone will say, why did they make these characters so exactly as they are, like make them so blah, basically, effectively. The gaslighting response is, oh, what, you need to be sexually attracted to a character to play it? That's not the deal. Like, I've been reading through the Reddit, and a lot of people are coming in and trying to be as clear as fucking day. They don't look like heroes. This is a hero shooter, not a mall cop mum shooter, right?
Yeah.
Like, sorry, not mall cop. I didn't mean to say mall cop. Sorry, it's not meant to. It's not that we want. It's not like I want every character to be Stellar Blade character or anything like that. The biggest issue with the game is people see the characters are blah as like that's just like they're lame characters, and you can love that character, and it's okay to be, they can be a they them, they can be a fucking robot, they can be a vacuum cleaner, they can be a fucking air conditioner unit, all they want. But if you want people to be immersed in a hero shooter, you want to make sure that you're appealing to more people. And appealing doesn't mean sex appeal. It doesn't have to be a sexualized character. Obviously, games like Stellar Blade and The First Descendant, they have sexualized characters. Like, you can see their tits are out, their asses out, and all the rest. But the game's still good, right? You're still alienating a tiny portion of the gaming industry by doing that, because some people like refuse to play a sexualized character. That's fine, whatever, okay. But the issue is, it's very frustrating when you're trying to say, like I bought Concord because I wanted to give it a try. I wanted to have a feel for it, and I wanted to review it for the channel. And I am genuinely enjoying it. But I'm finding myself just going, I just don't care for any of these characters, right? I care about the skills and stuff like that, but you have people who love characters. Listen to Asmongold talk about the story of World of Warcraft, and he loves characters. Like, he gets behind them, he loves this, loves that. And then there's other people who love characters in movies and games and all the rest, and it's just like, yeah, some of them can be just like blah characters, but when you see someone who's clearly made to be intentionally heavily overweight with like weird glasses and stuff like that, it's just like, who is he trying to be a role model for? I don't know. I don't know how to say this without just saying something not politically correct, but
you are racist.
You look up to sports players, generally, not always. Like, I'm not saying everyone has to idolize sports players, but you respect that they're like military people as well. You respect that they are good in battle and stuff like that, right? I don't know how to say this correctly.
I know what you're trying. We respect people who have achieved difficult things.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. Right. And you can't see, like, seeing a hero who's like boring. It's just like, I don't know. Would Terminator have been a good movie if the Terminator that was sent back was just like some uninspiring, like, I don't want to just say overweight. It's not to do with the weight. It's just like the character designs are boring. And just,
like, if he was just some average Joe, like
you can have So I don't know if you were the one who said it to me, but like, there's average Joes is fine as long as there's only like a couple of average Joes on the whole lineup, and then you're like, oh, I like the average Joe guy,
or there's like a unique twist to that. To that, like, I don't know, like, and it like, I don't want to make this argument about like looks in games. It's also like kind of the shit that they make you do in games as well. Like, I never played Spider-Man 2, but like, there's like side quests where like you have to like go in the community and like I all these activist things that are in games, and it's like, I don't want that in my games.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't need that shit. Like, I remember Psychonauts 2, and it was like, find the I don't know, it was like the emotional control bag or something like that, or the emotional baggage, and then it was an actual emotional bag that you had to go collect, and you're like, oh my god, like, what? Who are we making these games for? Like, get that shit out of here. And it's just like, you know why Elden Ring ruled? It's because the game was about becoming Elden Lord, and it's like, it's about being the shit and beating the bosses, and then just being the hero. You're the good guy, they're the bad guy, kill the bad guy. It's about to expand on that point, like, it's about
attaining and visiting places that don't exist on planet Earth.
Yeah.
We don't want things that we can see at the mall in a fucking game.
Yeah.
That's why Elden Ring is so magnificent, because of the visuals and the places you go and the things that you do and the things you see, because that shit doesn't exist here. And I think to Wara's point earlier, like, developers are trying too hard to make shit relatable and putting things, visuals and concepts into games for like your average person. But like, I don't know, for me personally, that doesn't interest me at all. Like, I want to escape. I can go out, I can go to Shoppers Drug Mart and see all that shit, but I can't like ride up a waterfall on a fucking magical moose.
Yeah.
And with a golden tree in the background anywhere in my neighborhood.
No.
And so I have a belief that sort of like a stance on games are art, and if someone wants to make a piece of art that's only for like a small audience, then that's fine. And that's why, if they don't want to change the game, or sorry, they've made the game they wanted to make, right? And they were like, we're doing it and we want to adhere to these people, right? Who are going to be happy with these character designs. That's fine. But don't complain when no one buys it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's sort of all there is to it for me. Like, I played... like, there's some other games that have released recently, like Flintlock, where people will comment about, this is a like a DEI game and stuff like that. Like, I played it, and in my reviews, none of that's mentioned, because that's not like part of our review system, and there won't be any mention of that in my review for Concord. It's just going to be about the fucking game, and we just don't want we just don't want politics to confuse our reviews and things like that. Like, all the real world drama that goes on. Like, people talk about how Lord of the Rings, for example, will be timeless because it's not about a point in political real world time that it's like addressing. It's just like orcs bad, humans good.
Yeah.
Right? And elves and dwarves. And it's like, it's a pretty fundamental, we don't want bad people to take over. Like, end of discussion. Like, whereas the real world narratives of today being pushed into games is just a bit frustrating.
Yeah.
But
we're always trying to squeeze in something. And like, I'm just personally, I'm just sick of it. And it's just, like you brought out, like we worked really hard to make this review system that was objectively fair as much as possible. And it's like, you can have your own biases in there, and that might sway you a certain way, but your scores still come out like really fair. Like, I could totally disagree with the game's message, and like I'll probably just rate it shitty on its story. But like, if it's got good gameplay, then like I'll have to give it marks where the marks are due. Or if it's got good graphics, I'm like, okay, well, at least they did that. But still, like, again, we're not the masses. We're not the mass audience. And when you're doing a huge, like, if you're going out of your way to kind of like disassociate from a mass audience, exactly. Don't be surprised when your studio shuts down and you're looking for new jobs. Like, it sucks, but unfortunately, I think there's going to be like a great cleanse, kind of like there was in the 80s after ET dropped and was just like complete garbage, where they had to put those copies in fucking landfill. I definitely think a lot of these studios that got a lot of this free money during the pandemic, like, they're definitely gonna run out of funds, and it's gonna be tough going out there. And we're gonna see a lot of these games that are just like traditional games just like pick up and just like kick ass.
Yeah, like look at Wukong, like 2.4 million concurrent players on Steam.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crushing. Just a good game, just worries about a 16th century story and good gameplay and good visuals. Yeah.
Apparently Wukong was like what Dragon Ball was based off of. Oh.
Yeah. So you are playing as Goku. Confirmed. It's another Dragon Ball Z game. Cool. 123 now.
Nice.
Yeah, fuck.
The rise of Asian games. Yeah. How the last few big games have all been from Eastern devs: Wukong, Elden Ring DLC, Stellar Blade, Final Fantasy VII, Rebirth, etc., etc.
I was talking with Wara before this, Max, and like, I don't know if you could think of any. We literally could not think of a North American studio other than like Call of Duty that was like releasing a game that was like regarded as being like amazing across the board by everybody.
Yeah,
like
not
that's
recently.
bad.
Yeah, that's bad. Like that. Like Concord's come out and has not got a lot of sales on Steam, and we don't know the figures for PlayStation, but it's looking pretty low. And just then you got like the list you just ran off, just absolutely crushing from the Eastern devs. It's just I'm just I was struggling when we was talking to Jimmy about like what has come out that's just absolutely crushed recently.
Well,
and
we're
like
mega overdue for the next Grand Theft Auto. You know, whenever Rockstar decides to give us that, that'll be the one. Yeah. But like, it's what is it? A decade now since 5 came out. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it has been. You know,
that might be the one though to like save the West. To like,
carrying.
I know we're a huge up and coming podcast, and I know a lot of game devs listen into our episodes. Mm-hmm. But like, I would say it's just like, I think it's been proven enough that like when you alienate huge portions of the population with like your Western politics, you're just going to piss people off and make people adamantly not want to play your game. So make things more general. And that's what great stories like The Lord of the Rings does. It's just a general story about good versus evil, or just like the value of man, and just like being like a knight who follows honor and like things like that. And it's like when you make broader stories like that, I feel like you'll succeed more. And I just really feel like the writing quality in a lot of modern games has just really dipped down, and like the stories are just really terrible, like WB channel terrible, like I don't know. And these games from Japan, South Korea, and now China like are just doing so good. And like Wukong is special because like Wara just brought up, it's a very traditional Chinese story that's been told over and over and like very popular. So I think like that's definitely a reason why it could be like super easy to attach to for a lot of that audience, and that's why it's doing so well. But like when you look at like the Stellar Blades, like this is a South Korean company that made mobile games. Now they're making this game, and when I played it, the story was a bit flimsy in parts, but I could totally see all of their inspiration. I'm like, oh my god, they totally took that from like Aliens, and like, oh my god, they totally took that from like this. And I love that. Like I love when I can like see your inspiration. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, like Japan, like just killing it with games, and like that's a classic. And even FF16, I thought like did well. Then Elden Ring DLC, incredible. And like it makes me sad that North America is no longer like this juggernaut for like the peak of gaming, but it also just makes room for these different types of games that are coming through. And I'm just really glad that I'm able to play these games that are coming from a little studio in Japan, FromSoftware, and now they're one of the big leagues now because of Elden Ring. It's cool to see like your favorite little team just like do so much better.
Yeah,
that's it.
Trying to think of an era maybe when North American games were like at their biggest. Like, can you guys think of
probably 2004 to 2010?
Like Gears of War and Call of Duty, when that was like Halo, when Blizzard, like World of Warcraft, like that was a hell of a year. Hey, 2004, wow.
Ooh.
But maybe since then, right? Like, because it's always been like the Marios and the Zeldas and the Japan, like
those are like the big. That was a big time for North America. And then like I don't know, like I definitely sucks when you bring politics into games, and like you're trying to. I don't know. You take away things that people clearly like, and then you're trying to like trick them into being like, you don't actually like this, like you like this. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
We want that in games. We want it just to be able to like shoot the pew pews and like blow things up, and like I don't want like a big thing telling me like how I should dig.
Yeah. Like it's I was like, what you? Yeah, a big what, Jimmy? A big what? Yeah.
Guy's a world-class air digger. It's like he puts an invisible penis in his mouth.
I didn't know where you were going with that. Sorry.
I didn't know
anyway.
where I was going with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So gamers, like, I want to feel like I'm speaking for most gamers here. When you're gaming, you're doing it for an escape from reality. Like, you want to immerse yourself in the world. Everyone says the same fucking thing. So why are they trying to push real world narratives to? Anyway, yeah. That's just what I wanted to say. I go into a game to just like immerse myself in that and forget about reality as much as possible.
Yeah, and see things that I can't see in my own life. That's why I prefer 12 to 15, because I have an aversion to the 1950s, and every time I went into a diner in Final Fantasy 15, I wanted to turn the game off. Those checkered fucking floors and the countertops. I was like, in those old 1950s cars, I was like, what is this? This isn't, where am I? Am I, like I can,
and the real world advertising as well. The real world advertisement, the Coleman.
Yeah, and I was like, this is dumb.
Oh my God.
That's why I didn't like, one of the big reasons I didn't like that game.
I watched a mutual friend of ours play that game, and I was like, man, I haven't seen a Final Fantasy game in forever. And I'm like, show me what's going on in these new ones. And then I'm watching them, and like, he was like pushing the car with those dudes, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
Where are the airships? Where are the fucking chocobos and the magic? Like, what am I watching?
Yeah, I was like, am I watching, like, what game is this? And I was like,
there's people in denim and a girl at in a mechanic shop, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, I can go down the street and see that.
Yeah, I felt like that. When I played it at launch, and I was just like, am I not a Final Fantasy fan?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, that made me question, like, did I just like a couple of their games? You know what I mean? Because I started at 10, and but yeah, anyway, it was bad. It was just didn't feel Final Fantasy, and then to me anyway, yeah.
So that actually brings us nicely into our next segment, which is a question that I posed earlier this week, and I shared with Jimmy, and I'm really curious to hear both of your take on this. How long do you play a game before you decide it's worth finishing? Who wants to start this one?
I'll go first. Yeah. So I don't have a set length of time, but I will constantly, when I'm struggling with something or something's frustrating me, I'll make sure I sit there and reset when I'm getting a little frustrated or getting like bored, or I just feel like I'm going through the motions. And I'm just like, am I having fun? Because like life's too damn short for me to be doing something that I really don't enjoy.
Yep.
And so, like, I've slogged through some games before, like God of War 2018. I got the platinum for that, and I had played it once before, and I'd gone in about 40 minutes. I killed that first, like, troll thing, and went through a first area, and I gave up. I gave up because I had a feeling that after 40 minutes that I wasn't going to enjoy the game. And I only went back and replayed it because of various reasons, but I just wanted to... I decided to give it a go again and force myself to finish it, to see how I felt once I finished it. And I'll tell you now that I'm not doing that again. I'm not doing that to another game. If I feel like I'm not enjoying it every game will need a different length of time. So a game like League of Legends, I feel like you would need to give yourself... So let's use that game as an example. So League of Legends, you are not going to be good at that game straight off the rip. So you are going to have a bad time, very likely, at the start, regardless of how good you are at gaming in general, because you don't know the enemy's abilities and things like that. So that's a game where I would give it a longer time and then go, okay, I've learned all these things now. Am I having any more fun or enjoyment than when I started? And if it isn't increasing, then that means I don't enjoy the game loop, and I won't play it anymore. With a game that's clear as day as what the game plays like God of War 2018, I don't need to give it hours and hours. I only need to give it like a good hour or so. And
yeah,
I want to clarify that if I'm giving up on a game, it's not because I believe it to be bad. I believe it not for me. And a lot of games I put in the not for me basket. So I've played a Spider-Man game before, and I did finish it because I wanted to see how long like everything was and whether things changed dramatically towards the end and stuff like that. And I didn't hate it, but I know I won't play another one again. And that was Miles Morales that I played. So I finished that, and it wasn't like the combat I didn't really enjoy, but I just wanted to sort of like, I did enjoy the swinging and things like that, but I'm getting a bit sidetracked here. To answer the question, how long I would give a game is variant, and I even recheck along the time, like as I'm playing, whether I'll go, am I actually enjoying this, or am I just getting frustrated? So I'll just like sit there and like, because sometimes I get frustrated, when you keep dying or something's like annoying, or even you just go, am I just going through the motions? Is it just like watching a TV show? Am I just like wasting time and I've got better things to do? So yeah.
No, I agree with a lot of that too. Like, I hate this notion of like people being like, "Oh, you can't talk about a game unless you finished it," and like that's bullshit. Sorry, it's bullshit. I can tell at this time just by watching a game's preview trailers like how the gameplay is going to be, and I've been right like pretty much 99% of the time. And you can't convince me otherwise because I've been right every single time. And for me now, I did the same thing as Wara did. I played a game and I was like, okay, yeah, it's not really for me. I think it's one of those games where it's like this, and this. And then people are like, no, it's not. How could you even say that you only played it for 2 hours or this long? And I'm like, because I'm not an idiot and I played it for 2 hours and I could see the core gameplay and just wasn't what I'm into. It's fine if you're into that, just not for me. They're like, guys, you know what he's talking about, played a game for 2 hours, blah, blah, blah. It's like, fuck you. You are an idiot, and I'm sorry that you are of less intelligence, but you don't have to play a game all the way through to, like Wara said, like, you can't really say it's a bad game, but you could say that it's not for me. And I really like that point. And I know in your frustration, you might be like, oh, I really wanted to play that game, and it may have not been for you, and then you found out it wasn't for you. So instead of just admitting that, it's easier to be like, that game sucks. But I've definitely played games for like an hour and I've been like, not for me. Like, I played Ghost Runner because I got it for free through the Epic Game Store, I think. And then I played it and I was like, nope, I hate this. And then there's definitely times where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not playing it right. And then I'll watch like a quick YouTube video of like how people are like successful at it. I'm like, okay, they're doing that. And then I'll try the same thing and I'm like, no, I just don't like this. And then I'll stop. And then whereas like maybe pre-2022 Jimmy would like force fucking play the game just to like prove a point. I'm not doing that shit anymore. I'm like, I got way too many good games to play.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
I'll give it an hour sometimes.
Yeah, the forcing yourself to play games is just not a good lifestyle choice.
No,
not doing that anymore. So this question made me think about a couple of games, not recently, but in the past, where I had such high fucking hopes for, and I tried and put 30 plus hours into each of them respectively, and just still like just quit there. Like after 30 hours, it's just like, I'm not, at no point up to there, that 30 hours was I ever immersed or was I ever passionate about it or like at work waiting to get home to play them. The first one was Ni no Kuni, which, being a massive like Studio Ghibli fan, who, you know, they did the art for that game, and Level 5, which I've mentioned on the show before, who's produced some of my favorite games of all time. Like, it was like a super team that made this game, this fun like JRPG that's like really colorful, and you like catch little creatures kind of like Pokemon. So it was like all these things came together in this game, and it should have been like the recipe for like, you know, my game of all time. And I never clicked with that game. I just played it, and I was like, what am I doing? And I eventually just stopped. It was just, it had great music, it had great visuals, but I think the big deal breakers for me are like, Jimmy, you mentioned like the core gameplay mechanic. For me, it's like combat. Like is like you know, you have menu navigation in games, and then you've got like running around the overworld, but then you've got like the core like combat, like fighting bad guys, right? Is that fun? Is that satisfying? And the answer was no for me, like in that game. And the other big one was I mentioned a couple minutes ago, but was Final Fantasy 15, and like I consider myself a really big fan of JRPGs, and some Final Fantasy games are my favorites of all time, and adore those and replay them. And so when that came out, I was like, oh God, like here it is. It's on the new system. It's on my shiny PS4. Like, I can't wait. Never clicked with that game. I put 35 hours into it, and I was like, I don't want to see the ending. I never connected
You're like, I'm good, bro.
I'm good. Like the combat was never satisfying. I already mentioned like my aversion to a lot of the design choices that they went with, and it just never clicked, right? So I have examples where I've really pushed it, and then more recently, like with Fire Emblem, like 2 hours in, I'm like, no, I've seen enough. Like I know where this is going, and I'm not doing that. Like it's, I think you learn from experience, right? Like maybe makes me think about like, like dating, even like, if you go on a first couple dates with somebody and you're just like, maybe a younger you would be like, oh, they'll change, or like this will get better, or like they weren't like, like XYZ could improve like the next couple times we go out, but they're still the same person. Like they're not changing. And like that's like me with games. Like these, I know I've been through that. Like I've slogged it out with games in the past, and I know that like I know what I like in games. I know like the types of things I look for, and if I'm not immersed in an hour and a half, if I'm not lost, if I'm not like crossing off the rest of my schedule for this, then like I'm gonna try something else, man. It's not worth it. There's too many good games out there to just try and like push through and just not like, we're supposed to be enjoying ourselves here, aren't we? Like this is gaming. Yeah. This isn't doing your taxes.
I definitely think I remember like playing Kong last year, and then just like literally just being like so like soul sucked, and then just like everything just felt like a chore. I was like, I just gotta like mash the button, and just like I don't know, where the fucking map doesn't make any sense. And there's tons of games like that where like you start to feel like you're not excited for the next battle. You're like, here we go, combat, all right? Let's do this.
Just going through the motions,
going through the motions, and I don't know. I get it. Like, there's people that are super passionate about some of these games. Like, somebody out there, like, Final Fantasy 15 is their favorite game in the world. And it's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
My opinion of that game does not change your experience with it.
That's it. 100%.
Yeah.
So it's like, just because I didn't connect with your game does not devaluate your opinion of the game. So, whatever. Yeah. I know there's a lot of people that their favorite game is God of War 2018 or God of War Ragnarok, and it's like,
that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Personally, they're not my type of game, and it's like, don't try to tell me or gaslight me that there's something that they're not to try to make your point, because that doesn't work.
Yeah, there's enough games out there for everybody, right? So let's not like argue about what's actually good or not. Like if you enjoy it, like that's it. That's the end of discussion. That's the point of it.
Yeah. Like I'm not going to have some idiot who's never played through a FromSoftware game tell me that FromSoftware games are bad. Like, like no, I don't know what you're talking about. You want to have a real conversation, play through the games and then let's talk. But it's just like, you just want to live in La La Land. It's just like, and you just want to tell me that you like God of War more. That's fine. You like that game more. We'll end it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like there's just too many people, like you said, that who can't. There's people who can't separate a lot of things. People who can't separate like their experience of the game versus someone else's opinion, or they can't separate, like we brought up last week, like their preference versus a very tried and true meta that we know works. And it's just like a lot of people don't have that. I don't know if it's emotional intelligence or just regular intelligence to be able to like separate those things. And or like an allegiance to some sort of platform. It's like, like, I love Concord. I think it's the best game in the world. And it's like, nope, no game on my platform can do any wrong. It's just like, why can't you just admit like some games suck or like not that good or like they made a bad choice? Like, I can definitely admit wrongs of my favorite game. And I think that's a perfect segue into our next session.
All right. Yeah.
Do the FromSoftware 2-minute defense.
Let's do this.
Get your fucking timer ready, Jimmy, because I've got one for you. Now, first of all, before I get into the question, I want anyone who's listening to comment if they have any sort of defense that they want Jimmy to do against a point you have for FromSoftware.
Ooh, yeah. Put those in the comments.
I won't promise to do it the next week, but I'll promise to put it on the list to do. I just don't want Jimmy to be ready. The whole point of this segment is he's unprotected.
Yeah.
So no, he doesn't get to warm up to the question. He can't prepare. So, all right. So Jimmy, tell me, why does Elden Ring not have crossplay between platforms?
It doesn't have crossplay between platforms. Well, I didn't know that, but okay. Here's a good reason why it doesn't. One, PC is full of fucking cheaters. Like, so that would completely suck if you're playing on console and you're going up against somebody who has hacked in the ability to like do 100-foot AoE that just continuously goes off over and over, because that's totally happened. And there's tons of times on PC, I feel like the whole PvP is just like so toxic because like people save scum. It's way easier to save scum on PC, and that's where you save your save file, so they can go through soul level 1 on a run and have a bunch of items that you only get once, and then they save scum that save file. Then with their over leveled, like superior powered level 1 character, they will fucking invade people who are just trying to co-op the game for the first time and in the first area, and then people are just dropping like these insane spells and like attacks on them, and like that's just like so unfair. And they can just expel all of those items and then just save scum again and then do it over and over again. So that would be a reason why like you can't crossplay PC with console. But between like PlayStation and Xbox, I don't think there's a good reason. I feel like console's console, and you should be able to crossplay with anybody that's on Xbox or Play.
But if someone had an issue on console with cheaters on PC, could they not just turn the crossplay off if there was an ability to turn it on? So because what if you wanted to co-op? So someone recently wanted me to help them, and they were on Xbox. I don't know why. But if they were on PC and there was no crossplay with PC, there is no crossplay, but like in the scenario you're mentioning, I wouldn't be able to help them co-op and kill a boss because there's no crossplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will full out say, I definitely think like the FromSoftware co-op technique, like the whole system that they did was cool for a time, but like I definitely think it's starting to show its age. And that's why things like the continuous co-op mod that's available on PC is so fucking popular, because it's cool. Like I think you should be able to like play through the entire game with a friend and you don't lose them every time you beat a boss. Like I feel like you should be able to go through the game all the way through. I think there are challenges with like how you level the game and then make it so it's a little bit more difficult when you have more than one person in there, because you can definitely steamroll a lot of the game if you have two people the entire time, and it takes away a lot of the challenge. But I will openly admit that the FromSoftware co-op mechanic is starting to show its age, and I think it needs some big enhancements for whatever FromSoftware has planned next.
Yeah, so that's a good answer. Moving on from that, I think what you mentioned about constant co-op, if it were to be implemented, I believe that something along the lines of increased mob density might have to occur in the open world, just to make that more difficult, because just more health and stuff like that I don't think would be just good enough. I think then it would just start having like people, it would just, I think that you'd have to change it so there's more mob density, and that would also increase replayability as well. So yeah, but anyway, that was a good answer.
Imagine in Dark Souls 2, like what's that area with all those mages that shoot like the homing magic? Like imagine if you were like continuous co-oping there, and then there was like 20 more of those. Like that would be so cancer. Like that would suck so much ass.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But yeah,
it wouldn't be easy to balance it. Yeah, It
A lot of
wouldn't be
people
easy,
forget
yeah.
that too. Like, there are not many games like, and I think FromSoftware is still doing a lot of learning, but I think they really amped it up in Elden Ring, and they made it like where you definitely should be utilizing your spirit summons, and people will try to like say like you shouldn't use those. No, use those. Like the shit's tuned for those to be in there.
Yeah, that's it.
But like they've come a long way making bosses like be more tuned towards like ranged combat and also close melee combat, whereas in the earlier games you just spam sorceries from like across the arena and you would just like own, and like the boss could do nothing. But now like they'll leap through the gap, and then they'll like catch up to you, and then they'll hit you with a bunch of combos, and like you got to constantly move, so you can't just like stand there. So they've definitely come a long way.
No, that's right, for sure.
Yeah, come a long way from spamming. What is it? The first boss in Demon Souls with fire, where you can be up on the
phalanx. Yeah,
no, not phalanx. Well, phalanx with the fire bombs, but in the come on now, where you drop down all the platforms, and then there's the pile of sludge at the bottom. In the swamp, the first swamp boss, and you can literally just
boss.
You could just and you can just chill on the
the
bridge
upper
and just
top, and just like
and just
throw
hit it
shit
with
at
fire and just like come a long way since then.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
Not the rotten. That's Dark Souls 2. Anyhow, please put it in the comments. I'm failing miserably remembering the name.
I'm so
of that
terrible with
boss.
names. Like I know
Yeah,
exactly
I know
what
which
you're
boss you
talking
mean.
about.
Leechmonger. Is it Leechmonger?
It is Leechmonger.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, sidetrack. Thank you.
What a shit boss. That
Such a long way to run back as well if you
Shit
died.
boss, yeah.
yeah.
Like, you didn't want to engage with him because he's just such a shit run to him to get back to him if you die.
Oh my god, especially in New
Yeah.
Game Plus and those fucking enemies in 5.1 that just like they do whambo bambo combos, and then like in NG Plus it'll just like annihilate your health even if you're like a level 100 character.
Yeah.
Oh, good times.
Good times. Good times.
Made me feel alive.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, that's all I gotta say about that. I think like again, 3 weeks in a row, I've just defended the.
Well, I think you conceded that one a little bit. You agreed the co-op should be on, crossplay should be on.
That's true.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But you
Still, I did it in fine fashion.
You made a good point. You made a good point about everyone would turn it off anyway because of the cheaters on PC.
I
the
will
PC
say,
argument.
I'm ashamed that I did this, but it was on the PS5 version of Demon Souls, and it's against the monk fight where you could be summoned in as the boss.
Yep.
And then I wanted to try that out because I hadn't done it yet, and then I put on cloak, and then I hit around the corner, and then the player just went in the boss arena and was like, "There's no boss in here." I fucking snuck up behind him, backstabbed him, and then I just roll caught him with a bleed weapon, and then he just like kept rolling, getting roll caught, and then he just bled to death. And then
You love to see it.
I was just like, "Hey, cheap shit win," and that was fun in the moment. But I was just like, what if that was like that person's first time going through the game, and now they've quit the game and they're never going to finish it because they're like, this boss is bullshit. And I felt really bad. I was like, man, that could have been like a person's first time.
Yeah, because I wonder how many people don't realize that if you're online, it could possibly be another player. I wonder. A lot of people probably don't know. Yeah, they probably just don't know.
So I play all those games offline. I personally hate playing those games online unless I'm helping a friend out, because people love all the little messages people leave on the ground. I fucking hate them. I hate them.
I love them.
Oh, really?
I
like
love
the
them.
messages.
I
They make
hate
me
them
feel-
because they're
they
all
make me feel
troll bullshit. People all think they're funny and they're like dog or like try butthole or like whatever, and you're just like ha ha ha. Like, okay, I've seen that a million times already.
Illusory wall ahead, and you're just
I don't
whacking
wanna
a
read
wall
it.
for 20
Yeah,
minutes.
there's always like 3 in a row, like liar ahead, not liar ahead, and then
Or
it's
they'll
like
put
illusory wall.
they'll put their message right beside like a button or a switch that you have to mash X on, and then you'll read the fucking message instead. That happened to me when I was making my Dark Souls 2 easy mode guide, and I was showing you how to cheese the pursuer and like how to like perfectly roll at the right time and then go to the ballista. And I did that, and I was mashing the button. I read someone's stupid fucking message, and then the pursuer killed me, and I was like, I'm like offline forever.
But look at you laughing at it now.
No, I don't. I'm not looking at it that way.
Got him!
That was not a good time that I'm reminiscing on. That was a reminder of why I always play offline.
Yeah, it's like my manager was telling me how. Sorry to sidetrack, but it's sort of relevant to what you're saying. He was sort of he was telling someone, he's like, "Oh, fucking this dude I work with," and when he's out having drinks with another mate, he's like, "Yeah, this dude I work with just does annoying little shit." And he's like what? And he's like, "Well, when I'm away from my computer, he'll change where my links go to with my shortcuts, and he'll just change them all around." And then the guy's like, and then they both start laughing. He's like, "Yeah, okay, it is pretty funny." Right? But,
right. Yeah.
So like,
you secretly love him, and it's like, I don't love online play.
Yeah, he's fine. But yeah, no, so like, I like the online community and that sort of like leaving the messages and the trolling and stuff like that. Like, some help, some don't. You got to know which ones are not helpful and stuff like that. I like that sense of community there. Like, I'm not saying you should like it. I'm just saying that I do actually. I hate playing offline. It makes me feel less alone. You know, like when you're in that world, like you're in that world where it's like you're the one who's got to help get through and make the world better, and these other people there are like helping you along the way.
Although I gotta say,
it, but yeah,
it was electrifying. Like when you've mastered a boss, and then I would just like, especially for Elden Ring, I would just put my sign outside of a boss arena, and I would just like dunk on that boss like 10, 11 times with like 10 random people, and that was fun.
Yeah, yep. The worst part is when you're going to help someone in like say Dark Souls 3 or any of them. You put your summon sign down, they summon you, and then you go in and they're just really bad, and you're just like you want them to just not die because obviously you get sent back and no one's happy. But yeah, it's always sad when
that sucks too.
They just get like they get like one shot and you can't.
I try to
like
take the boss down and then I'll leave them the last hit, and I'm kind of like, get in there, buddy. Like, go finish them all, and then they get like one shot, and you're like, motherfucker.
Yeah, just stay out of the way. Let me handle this.
Yeah,
well, that's why Let Me Solo has to call his name Let Me Solo Her. In other words,
honestly,
stay the fuck out of the way. Don't die. Don't ruin me.
That's true, because like they can fuck up the aggro or like what the boss is gonna do if they go and do funny stuff. So it's like, just get out of the way. But also too, when you're talking big shit and then you get summoned in and you're doing all these buffs and then you fall off the edge or like you do something stupid and die, and you're like,
oh yeah,
fuck, I look so stupid right now.
Yeah, I've definitely never done that.
Yeah. Nope, never.
Yeah.
Can you review a device on what it can do, even if that is not what it was marketed as?
So I'll just mention as to what brought this up. So the Portal, the PlayStation Portal, the handheld, is marketed as something to use in your home, but you can use it not at home, like if you're at the airport or something, as long as your PlayStation's in rest mode or on at home, you can connect to it. So someone had mentioned that you can't review it based off of that capability because it's not marketed as that. But then the Xbox Series S console, if you pay like $20 to become a developer, you can put it into dev kit mode and it becomes an emulator, basically a ROM. Yeah. So if you were going to review it, I would review on what it can do. It's sort of like, I've got a RAV4 that's definitely not a 4-wheel drive, but I could turn it into a rally car and then review it as a rally car, right? It's got to be a bad rally car. But my point is, I feel like when you review something, you review it as to what its total capabilities are and not what it's like. That's a cool thing about some tech that you can use for reasons not mentioned in marketing. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because you guys are like tech heads more so than me. Wondering if you had any other examples.
That's a good point, because I would say like you could definitely do that, but you should not take marks away from something for something that it can't do that was never supposed to do that thing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I think it's like a cool add-on. Like, oh, by the way, like I was able to use this PS Portal like outside the house, and I was actually able to get like good gaming performance as long as my connection was good. That's a cool point. But if you used it outside of its intended area and it was dog shit, don't be like, it can't play outside the house. Negative points. It's like, well, it's not really meant to do that. Like, so I understand that, and I understand like things for its maximal potential. And then noting that as like a cool aside, I think that's the way back. Because I'm always like trying to use things outside the box. Like the camera that I'm using right now is not a webcam. It's a full-on DSLR that's designed to take photographs. Its main purpose is to take pictures.
Oh, that's a good example. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's not meant to be a steady stream cam for live streaming, video gaming, or like any of that. It's meant to take pictures. And it's just a cool thing that was kind of tacked on to where you can make it into a USB webcam. And it's like, that's cool. I like stuff like that. Or like when you're able to use like a new piece of tech in a way that you didn't really imagine that you could. Like Max right now, like he's got his fucking laptop on like a little dinner table that's like on another table, and it's just like so it could be at the right height, and it's just like all these little things that you can do. So I feel like the answer to it is yes. Like the Series S, like Xbox having two consoles, I think it was a cool idea. It's a great way to get into an inexpensive gaming console, but it's just like, should you fault that for not being able to play games at their maximum potential? It's like, no, that thing was never meant to do that. But but to comment on it and be like, yeah, it is kind of a letdown that like a lot of games can't run properly on it. It's like, yeah, I think that's fair to say as well. But like full out expecting it to play at the same performance as like a Xbox Series X, like their flagship product, like it's kind of silly. I know it's kind of like putting a really low end computer up against like a high end gaming piece. Well, they're two different products. That's one's meant for one thing. Nailed it.
No, I have nothing to add to that. Like,
yeah.
I think one thing that we should start to end on is like looking like something that we're looking forward to in gaming, and it's just like And for me, like after Black Myth Wukong, I can't even really think of anything that I'm looking forward to, which kind of sucks. So I'm just looking forward to like the next random indie game to kind of just like come in my life, and I'm looking forward to that. Is there anything that you guys are looking forward to that's coming up?
Definitely, yeah. The remake. It's a remake. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D is the official title.
Wow,
that's a mouthful.
It's like old original Dragon Quest redone with modern visuals, but made to look old. If that makes sense. So it's still like pixeled over the top, but with like unique new textures and new visuals, and obviously some added brand new like flourishes and pizzazz to it. But yeah, that's a classic game that I played and looking to, as a big fan of that series, definitely looking forward to playing through that, like with them not only just remaking it, but like a reimagining almost of a classic game. So that's going to be fun.
Nice. How about you, Wara?
Me, I'm excited for Star Wars Outlaws. Me and the missus are going to play that, and while obviously it's Ubisoft and I'm meant to also hate on that, I'm a bit of a Star Wars fan, and I just wanted to give it a go, and hopefully it's good. I'll be reviewing that again on after I finish the Concord review. Check that out this week on the website. And after that, I'm also excited for Astrobot. I know the kids love, my twins, they're 4, they love the first like the mini tech thing you get with the PlayStation 5. It's meant to be
amazing game.
Oh yeah.
If you haven't played it, try it, everyone. But yeah, so that's what I'll be playing. in the next few days after Concord, I'll be getting on to Star Wars Outlaws. But comment below what you guys are going to be playing and looking forward to. But yeah,
yes,
for the rest
please.
of the year, the rest of the year, there's other things as well. Like, I know it sounds lame, but I'm interested to see what Flight Sim 2024 has, but that's all the way in November. But I'm looking to see. I'm keeping track of Dragon Age Veilguard as well. I'm hoping that's good as well.
But we did almost 2 hours again, so that just flew by.
Yeah.
Appreciate everybody's all your energy, everyone's energy and enthusiasm, and always fun when we can go a little bit off script and off topic and just be ourselves. So thanks boys for bringing that energy today, and thank you everyone for following through with us. If you've made it to the end of the episode, we really appreciate it. Looking forward to next week, episode 4. Today's been a lot of fun. This has been FornaTRON, Wara, and Max Deshaw Based Game Reviews podcast. Thank you so much for checking us out. We'll see you soon.
Cheers, guys.
All right,
see you
cheers.
next time.
Peace.